Hey, welcome back. Here at the Market Mamas podcast, I cover a wide range of topics from the intricacies of day trading to mindset mastery and psychological growth, with the goal of the conversations being next level growth for all of us. My name is Becky, and I'm a US based futures day trader from the Pacific Northwest. I've been trading for nearly 4 years now and currently focus predominantly on day trading the futures instrument for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, otherwise known as YM, but I also enjoy day and swing trading ETF options such as SPY occasionally as well. So thank you for joining me today. This podcast, it offers me an incredible opportunity to bring on other traders as my guests to talk out the journey, share tips, grow together through this wild but super intriguing pursuit, which happens to be like one of my very favorite things to do at this stage in my life. But you can multiply that sentiment many times over when the conversation is with one of my very favorite humans, who also happens to be a killer trader. So today, I'm so privileged to welcome back to the Market Mamas podcast my trading mentor and friend, Jermaine. This will actually be his third time. So if you haven't seen our previous conversations with him, those episodes are linked in the description below because they are packed with really great pearls of wisdom. So I definitely encourage you to check those out next. But he is a man of so much wisdom that I constantly pick his brain like daily for my personal growth. So it's easy to like keep bringing him on and keep the questions coming because there's so much value to obtain, you know? So thank you very much for coming
Excited
back
to be
as
here,
my guest,
Becky.
Jermaine.
Excited to be here. Thank you for having me back
Yes.
on.
I feel like I've had so much growth lately and I can attribute so much of that directly to you. So whenever I think about guests, I'm like always like, who else but also Jermaine? Like,
It's an honor to hear that.
come back. I really have enjoyed our previous conversations, but we have more that we can get into, right? So
Yes,
let's
absolutely.
just
Let's dive
get
in.
into it, right?
Sure shot.
Okay. So you are obviously a daily trader, but you also lead our community and are a mentor. So how does that work for you? Like, how is teaching and becoming a mentor, has it impacted the way that you
Becky,
trade, your
first and
executions?
foremost, today is the third year anniversary. Today makes a third year anniversary since I started. Today is the third year. So thank you. And we're having
Anniversary.
this podcast. So I'm like so thrilled, right? Um,
Yes,
super
it's
perfect.
perfect.
All
That's
right,
great
great.
alignment,
So
right?
how has that impacted my trading? Of course, in a very positive way. And I learn from you guys too, okay? I have to admit that, right? I learn from your struggles, okay? And I learn from your wins as well, okay? Because I'm forever a student in this game and I'm pretty much open to any possibilities in this market, okay? So it has impacted me positively. And one thing that I mean, you can see that I've grown over the years when it even comes to my risk management. Okay, how I have gotten so serious and tight with it, but to a point where I can still maintain my edge in the market, and I believe it's through mentoring and also teaching this craft that has allowed me to see that those areas of possibilities and make a change.
That makes so much sense. Like I have been with you. I joined in June, so over 2.5 years now. And we've all evolved together, which is so cool. Like you obviously are leading and, trade legit contract size and P&L. So we're all jealous naturally, but it's so inspiring to see what can happen with the persistence of like just showing up and talking it out with your community. And like, I think that our conversations in the live stream really do
Yes, and not
make
even
us
just.
all
I'm
better.
happy you said that because it's not even on a technical side only. It's for my mental health too. So we all come out and we jump on our sessions every day, and we just air it out, right? Like you guys know when I'm having a rough day, when I'm feeling some kind of way about something, and then by the time I get off, it's like okay, move on to something else, and it helps a lot. It helps a lot.
Yeah. It can pull you out of any sort of like trance with the candle patterns and put you more into like analytical, almost like reflective mode, which is so much more of a more solid headspace to process it and learn the lessons when you're not
Exactly,
just
exactly, and
staring at the
that's a
chart.
big thing because we get so
Yeah.
stuck in our own minds, and it's a bad place to be. I've been there before, and I never had the
Yeah.
support of anyone to really pull me out of it. And yeah, I'm just happy that we have that platform now that we can share our experiences. Yes.
Me too. And I think for anyone who's watching this, like I definitely think that there's tremendous value in having a community, whoever that is, wherever you found, or even if it's just a person or two, to be able to like say what you did and how it's going and what you think, because airing it out really, I think,
Yes,
is
yes, that's so
powerful
true,
for
Becky.
growth. Market Mamas is essentially, if we had to like put 3 words on it, it's a trading psychology podcast, right? So that's what I haven't focus a lot on technicals. We focus more on like the growth, the personal growth, psychological growth, how we're having to adjust as a human. But there's also like you can't prioritize your psychology so much without having a really strong edge and process in order to even understand what a good trade is, right? So can we talk a little bit about that, like trading psychology as well as your growth and becoming a really good trader? But like what's first, process, psychology, how does all that work for you when you think about becoming a good trader?
Interesting, Becky. Might ruffle a few feathers here, but just going off my experience, and you know,
Please.
I can only go off what I have seen throughout my life and what has worked for me. Okay, and that's what I impart with you guys in the community to make sure that you guys have a blueprint, really. Okay. Now, I always talk about psychology in the sense where it's like a big pie. Okay, and there are four sides to that. Okay. Now, the first one is education. Okay, so you need that foundation. The next one are your tools, okay, that you're going to use to navigate the markets. The third one is deliberate practice. Deliberate practice. And the last one,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is personal development. As you know, as you get to know yourself as a trader, um, and the psychology will come into play. So let me explain. Yes. So the
Yeah, break
education
it
part
down. That's
is,
great.
making sure that you're getting that right information in. Okay. The worst thing I see, or a thing that I see, is a lot of people, they come into trading and they've gotten some random thing on YouTube and they think they have a strategy, they think they have the foundation, only to find out that, that's not really how the market really moves. And you need a bit more than that. So for me, what helped my psychology from the get-go was to have a firm understanding of how the market moves, right? And I didn't want to go through moving average. I tried that earlier on. That didn't work for me. So I understood that I needed to make sure that the education was taken care of. Okay, so we need to have that foundation properly laid out. Next things are your tool. Next step is your tools. Okay, so what kind of tools are you using every day? And even, do you understand what they're telling you? Okay, because you can have a moving average on your chart. Doesn't matter what you're using, but you can have a moving average on your chart, and it's telling you that there are more buyers and sellers in the market. But do you understand that it's telling you that? Okay, because a lot of times we get distracted from our tools and we don't even understand them to an extent. So I do think that you need to understand the tools that you're bringing to war, right? And know how to use them. Okay, if you're in a war and your gun jams, you got to know how to release it, to correct it, whatever the case is. So I do think that the tools that you're bringing into the market, it needs to speak to you. Okay, now I can have 5 things on my chart, and Becky, you could have 2 things, and you're successful too. So it doesn't really matter what. Just make sure it speaks to you. Okay, and then deliberate practice, uh,
Right.
very
Okay.
important, key thing, right? Execution, journaling, and not just journaling, like journaling in live markets while the market is developing, not just journaling when the market closes and whatnot. Like you can learn a lot about yourself and your executions through deliberate practicing. Okay, so if you're doing that every day religiously and you're showing up in a way where you're very intentional with your trades and your journaling process, I do believe that that can put you light years ahead of many people. Okay, and it can really help to cement that firm foundation on the psychology part. Okay, once you get to the
Mhm.
journaling, the execution, and you're constantly showing up every day, you're getting that experience from the market. You're going to learn some things about yourself, and this is where we move into personal development and psychology. There are things that I struggle with that you won't struggle with on the psychology side. Okay, we had an interesting conversation yesterday about money, where some people saw money in a certain way, and I didn't see it like that. Okay, So there are things that we're going to have to learn about ourselves, and that's through showing up every day through under that deliberate practice category, journaling, knowing thyself, and from there on, we can know what we need to work on the psychology side so we can attack that as we continue to develop as traders. So those are my four parts to it: the education, the tools, the deliberate practice, and then the personal development and psychology. Because, Becky, I think that a lot of people use psychology as some kind of excuse. It's like an excuse for hard work, right? It's like they're cutting out hard work and it's, oh, my psychology. Yes, but do you understand what happens when you get what needs to happen when you get into a trade? Do you understand that this is a pullback, right? There's so many things that you need to know and understand while your trade is developing. And that could really help you far with your psychology. Do you know your risk management on your trades? Do you know where you need to enter? Where is the trade wrong? Okay. What is the risk to reward on these trades usually? What market conditions it doesn't work in? You ask a lot of people about this, they can't even answer you. Okay, that means you're lacking something that you need to make sure you take care of before you think about, oh, it's my psychology, it's my psychology. Well, maybe it's not yet.
It's almost like we could, as traders, choose to not accept personal responsibility for something and instead kind of blame it on, like, I was nervous and I had FOMO and I felt like I couldn't control myself with the chase. Well, you could have, if you were like really hard on, like, I follow this process and if I don't see XYZ, then I don't get to execute this. And so I love that framework sort of establishes the fact that, like, you have to have work in a business plan and a setup, and then if it doesn't happen, then you don't trade it. And be accountable to that, right? Like, treat it like a legit business. Something doesn't line up in your business, then it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. You don't get to just be like, well, I'm going to do something else and pretend that was it. That's not actually, like,
Yes, that's
healthy
true. That's
and
100% true.
sustainable.
I do think that people use it as an excuse sometimes, and you ask them certain key information about what they're doing, and they can't tell you that, right? So I do believe in hard work in that aspect.
Right. Yeah. And I like the fact that you talk about, like, just showing up in all the different ways, like studying your tools and having an intimate knowledge of what they mean, and not just like someone said, if we're above this we go long and if we're below this we go short, but instead, like, understanding how that indicator is even created and what it means and how it's lagging and what actually creates the data that supports it. Then you can move with it more so and recognize if it's just being tested or if it's actually, like, been
Absolutely, you
impacted or
have to
whatever. Like,
understand your tools, and I think
right.
for me, that took a while. That took a while to really like digest that information and be able to read it real time. Um, and look, it's worth it. Okay, it's worth it 100%. So get to know your tools. If you don't know them, try to find out about them and just get that data from them so you can make an educated decision while you're trading.
What I love about talking to you is you have walked the walk, like, I don't think that there's a lot of authenticity out there, especially in the YouTube and influencer, whatever world of trading, is there's a lot of bullshit, quite frankly. But why I want to bring you on is that you're not even a part of that world. You personally choose to not be in that world, except for with Market Mamas. And so what you are saying is from your lived experience from the past several years, where you have dug in and done the experience and paid for many different mentors and courses and studied and back tested on the weekends, even still, so that you can more solidify what you need in order to be the best trader that you can. Because you can't, I would think that you would argue that you shouldn't be leveraging up and taking larger contract sizes until you have put in months and months and months of work and studying it and having that increased confidence in your setup in order to justify a higher leverage. And that just comes with the experience, right? Like you said, it's worth it because, I mean, look at you. You are successful, and it's not because, you had this one person who gave you this golden nugget and that's all you use. No, it's because of the way
Yes,
you show up
100%.
consistently, wouldn't you
I
say?
would say the showing up was a big part of where I am today. Just understanding how the market moves. There are certain things you could pick up. Like you can pick up when there's momentum coming into the market, and you don't need an indicator for that. You can just look at the real data on the chart, and you can see, okay, there's momentum here. What kind of play is on hand right now? Okay, because a big part of what I do is I'm a
Mhm.
discretionary trader, and I do think that you need to have that side of you as a trader while having a system with that. And I think that that's real edge. Okay. Becky, I used to think that I used to look at the markets when I was learning to trade, and I used to think like every swing in the market is someone's edge surfacing. So for the market to get to a level and turn back, someone had to be interested at that price, at those prices, right? I said,
Yeah,
exactly.
a
So,
lot of
oh my
someone's.
God, that means then that I just need to know who's in the market with me, what are their intent, what are their
Hmm.
intentions at the time, and roll with them. Okay? And you're seeing that even right now, what we're doing. We're understanding, we're going deeper into that right now, where what are their targets in the market? If they entered here, what are they trying to achieve? Okay, and that comes from critical thinking, just being in the market every waking day. Okay, so that's very important.
And hunting to understand it, like not just saying, oh yeah, that level did hold, but like understanding the why behind it, because that creates, I think, more power in our entire planning system, and our ability to create a strong hypothesis for the day is knowing, recognizing that this level seems powerful. Why? Because where did it turn, how many times, what sort of strength, like how many times has it held? And so I think being able to study that and see it and anticipate it, it does give you so much more confidence and peace. I feel like when I was trading in my first couple of years, I was very, very anxious, and I'm still working on that. But I, with the more that I have learned and the more that I understand it, and it's like this push up makes sense because we haven't tested this level above yet. And so I think it would make sense if momentum pushed up there and then we saw what they had. We saw if this level has the ability to stop this direction. And then if it does, that's going to give me great information about what happens next. And so just being able to think like that when I'm looking at the day presenting in front of me bring so much more peace and the ability to control my emotions, right? That's the example right there of the process that I put in and the way that I've grown to be able to slow down my psychological hurdles that I have worked through in the past. I don't have as much FOMO because I recognize this move could be this, and it
That's
makes the
it, Becky.
psychology part
That's it.
easier.
But you can't tell me you're having problems with your psychology and you don't know what you're doing completely. I don't agree with that. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if you get to that Zen state pretty quickly, you're going to be successful, which I doubt. But give it a shot. We'll talk again. Yeah. Yes.
Go with that. See what works for you. I mean, everyone's journey is different. That's very valid. And I think we come to it with different backgrounds. Like with our money conversation in the community the other day, it really is like when one of the gals was talking about how she just feels like it's not a barrier. And I'm like, I didn't grow up with that. I grew up with like a little bit more scarcity versus growth and abundance. And that's something that I'm having to recognize in myself and change. And so having different backgrounds coming to the market is going to shape the way that you approach it. But everyone has their shit, I think. Like everyone has their things that will inhibit them. And so, you do need to work on that, but you're right. That's not the only answer to being consistent. You also have to understand
Oh
what the heck the
yes, and
market
I
might be
and
doing and
I
why.
shared with you guys. I've been under hypnosis trying to figure out like what's going on in this mind. I've spent a lot of money just trying to figure myself out, and uh, I'll never get there, and that's fine because as we always say in the community, if you're not growing, you're dying. Okay, so I always want that opportunity for
Yeah.
growth, always.
So how would you say how have you noticed the work that you have done in that area? How have you noticed that change your outcomes and your
A lot more
phase of life
abundance
right
in the
now?
mindset. Okay, I don't feel that's why I don't suffer from FOMO like that anymore. It's because I understand that whatever is happening in my life, it's for my benefit. It's not going against me. Okay, whatever comes into my life
Mhm.
is something that I am attracted, and I have full control over that. Okay, so now I'm not in a fight or flight mode, not even on the charts. Um, I'm more in a attracting mode, right? I'm pulling things towards.
Right. Like call to you how you want your day to come. Like that speaks to visualization. Like I want to, if it goes against me, I'm going to take a small hit because I will be able to see a better trade coming down. And like I always can find a good trade in my day. So just chill and like let it happen. Let it set up.
Yes, and that
Less
also comes
anxious.
from the experience too, right? It all fit into that psychology part of it. Okay, because if you understand that this market is abundant, right? You'll realize that this is not the only trade. The market just opened for 30 minutes. So we have some other,
Mm-hmm.
how many hours to go. If you miss a trade in the first 30 minutes, like, what is the big deal, right? So that means then you're operating from a place of scarcity. Okay, and when you do that, you
Yeah.
will do crazy things. Okay.
I laugh because you're speaking from your experience in coaching me. Because that was me, right? Like I love market open and I love nailing the first move of the day, like anticipating it, understanding it, having it my
Yeah.
hypothesis, and then taking it and being out early. But that is not every day. I am not like a mind reader. I'm not a perfect trader by a long shot. And so when I don't get it, you know that that's a trigger for me of like, but I love it when I get it. And so that's something that I'm still working through today, is to be okay when I don't get it. Like, for example, today I got in and it was moving in my direction and then it went against me and I took a stop out and I actually was able to like, it's fine. Like I took a small hit and then I got back in for a bet at a better price and then I won and I ended up like the day is green. And it's like, that is from
Ooh,
you. That is from you teaching me that like, what's the statement you said the other day?
yes.
Small losses get you paid, right? Because it's kind of
Yes, that's
counterintuitive, but it's
100%
actually
accurate.
very accurate.
I mean, look, I started to see money when my losses were smaller. Now, I'm not talking about, like $20,000, $30,000, but at least even if I'm net positive on the week, even if it's $100, it's still a positive P&L. Okay, and that came from
Mm-hmm.
controlling my losses. Okay, so that's such a big part of it. And
Right.
even the other day where you missed, I think you were being patient at the open, you were trying something new, and then you got the probably the best trade of the first
Mm-hmm.
half later on in the day, and that should speak to you, and it's going to speak to you more as you develop as a trader. That, hey, you're just going to come to that realization, like, look, there's no need to rush it here. Okay, and right now I do understand your
Mm-hmm.
situation because you have so many things going on in the mornings. It's not the usual. Okay, so you're just trying to make sure that you show up for yourself every morning, you get that trade in, and that's perfectly fine. But when you continue to do that and you look at the charts from a point of, you're curious, like, what happened after I got out of this trade, right? Could I have waited another 10 minutes? Wow,
Mm-hmm.
another 10 minutes would have got me a better trade. And you start to really put that into perspective, day in, day out. There's a shift that's happening. There's a shift that's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. That day was very, very interesting for me because it was an early setup that I normally would have gotten and I didn't because I was trying to be more patient. And so like I was frustrated, but I actually did a pretty good job, right? Of like staying calm and like just waiting for the next setup, which is that is abundance over scarcity. Like, God damn it, I lost it. I'm just going to scratch for whatever scraps I can get versus like, it's cool. That would have been great. I hope someone else got it. I'm going to see what else presents and what would it look like for the next opportunity. And then like being able to like breathe and stay present and like let the next one set up. Cause it's, I mean, we've talked a lot of times too about how it's not really a great choice to go from one trade straight into the other. So when the other one I missed and closed, that's not really the best time to just hop into the next one. Like let it chill, let it move,
That
let
is
the next
true.
one set up
And
properly.
what I love about that trade that you did was you held it to complete that context on the day. Okay, you weren't just trying to make it back, which shows me a lot of growth. It tells me that, hey, you're really putting in the work, the real work, the real work. That was
Yeah. That was from studying. You're right. That was from being like, okay, I see where it closed and where it retested. And so logically, contextually, this is the next target. And it was a longer hold time than I'm used to or comfortable with. Like that was an hour and 40 minutes that I was in an active trade that day. But it's because of understanding and trusting context and recognizing the setup that I had gotten myself into would mean if this level holds, we could get down there. And so that I would never have been able to hold it that long previously. So that has been definitely an area of growth from just studying it. And like we said, like in live stream, a year ago would be like, I got in here and I got out here, and someone else would be like, I got in here and I scaled and I held it here, and it's like, shit, that worked out great. Dude was in the same trade and took twice the P&L as me. I gotta like clean that up. I gotta pay attention to that. I gotta watch that, and I gotta trust myself more. And maybe it has taken me a year to hold to that lower target.
Yes.
I got there.
That was definitely a
Right?
2025 solid trade for 2025. Yes.
I'm gonna keep breaking them in. The goal, right? Okay, so I have another question. Why do you think this is kind of, we already talked about it a little bit, but why do you think it's important to become the best human that you can be in search of becoming the best trader, most profitable trader, most successful business person? What's the root of that as a human?
I forgot who said this, but
It's
to
Brown.
achieve something you've never achieved before, you have to become someone you've never been before. Okay? That resonates with me a
Yeah,
whole
that's
lot
so good.
because I knew that I had to change my identity after I got into trading a certain time, that I needed to change my identity. I need to be a different person, and the only person that I could be was better than the previous version of me. Okay? So I had to
Mm-hmm.
all the the little ways I had when I was growing up in Jamaica. I knew that on the other side is where I need to be, and that's gonna spill over into me being a successful person, whether in trading, in business. It doesn't matter. I just need to do something differently. Okay, and it wasn't going to be bad, it was going to be good.
So you recognized early and identified that in order to not have the life that seemingly those around you were having, you would need to find something else, like grow to another level that you was not in your life currently,
Absolutely.
but
And I
that you could
needed,
achieve,
Becky,
right?
I've been doing the same thing up until that time every day, right? I needed to try something else, okay? And a lot of people, that's where they're having a lot of problem, is because they can't see that there needs to be a change, both on a personal level, all right, and on a spiritual level at that, right? Because I do believe that at the core we are spiritual beings, and there has to be a change there as well. Okay, so I know that I needed to
Yeah.
take on that task, and I had to just go ahead 100% and do it. And I know that I'll get different results. I can't expect to do the same thing every day and get the same results. Then I'll be a madman.
Right.
Yes,
The
exactly.
definition of insanity.
Right.
I feel like you have witnessed that in me and been instrumental in that changing me, because I don't think when I came to you for mentorship, I did not understand this concept. And as a beginning trader, I did not understand or give near enough weight to this whole idea of who you are as a person will create who you are as a trader. And when I started to understand that more and dig into content that spoke to that and dig into my own self and my psychology, I started to actually like change things in my life, say things to myself differently, speak to myself differently within my own mind. And it has over time shifted how I approach everything in life and trading and goals. And it's helped me to, have more confidence in the direction that I can go, and that I don't have to stay where I've always been, but that there is more potential. And it sounds like bullshit almost. It sounds like fluffy, but if you actually dig into the work and start putting the energy there, I would argue that for me, especially, it has changed who I am. And as a result, my trading has been much more settled and consistent and has been able to grow in a more calm
Yes,
way.
absolutely. We're watching you grow, Becky. We're all here. We're watching you grow. We're cheering you on. We've seen the growth. Um, I've seen your downtimes, and I've seen your highs and your lows. Okay, and what I can tell you is that the low days are getting lesser and less. Okay, and I hope you see that. Now, if you were trying to be a trader and you're holding on to the
Mhm.
old you, you're you're gonna make your journey like 10 times more difficult. Okay, and what you're doing is you're accepting change. You're accepting what comes with trading. You're not trying to fight that other side. Okay, you're accepting it, and that's gonna create less resistance for you. That worked for me as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I needed to change. I told you on the first time we did the first time I came on your podcast that I had to change my identity. Like, really had to change it. So the person you're talking to today, 20 years ago, Becky, it's not that. You would be surprised.
I think that I mean, I don't I don't want to like use me as an example to say that I'm some like doing some amazing things right now, because I have a lot more to go. But I do want to use the example of my growth just as the potential for everyone, that like if you are encountering like resistance in your trading and it's really frustrating you and you're having these big emotional swings, like 1,000,000% I have been there, and I have had to grow through it. And that's it. Like you can struggle and end up quitting and lose money the whole time that you're a trader, or you can be like, this who I am right now is like not pleasant. It's not enjoyable. It's not getting me the P&L that I want. Like something has to change, and then own that. And that's this deliberate practice as well, not on the charts, but like internally, because recognizing that what you're doing is getting you the same outcome. And I'm fucking sick of blowing my accounts. So I want to like own that and cut the things that I recognize I have journaled and I have identified that when I made these errors and I slid into this tilt, like the outcome was really unfortunate. And so owning that and seeking out what I have to do, even when it's hard and uncomfortable and scary and tearful, it's worth the time and energy, because that is
A
what
hundred
opens up the
percent.
doors to the next
And you
levels.
have to be your perspective on change has to be that of something that it's like a beautiful journey that you're going to go on. Okay, you can't have any kind of, oh, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's uncomfortable, and we understand that, but change your perspective on that.
Okay, so Jermaine is one of my favorite guests and humans and traders. So naturally, we talked for a very long time. So the episode actually got to be like an hour long, and so I cut it up. This is part one that we just watched. Thank you guys for being here, and it gets better. So you guys are gonna have to hang in there. Part two is coming out very soon. If you're catching these in different order, there is two that came out in the spring of 2025 with Jermaine, my trading mentor, and just a lot of wisdom in this episode. So part one, we just listened to, was super good. Part two is coming out next week. Thank you guys for being here with Market Mamas. I really appreciate you showing up to the podcast and joining my community of Market Mamas so that we can all get better and enjoy trading as we go. So thank you for being here. Have a great day, guys. Bye.